No?
Is it also okay? Can it be also done like this for a fixed price project, where the price is fixed and the customer can demand more and more?
Right. So that's really a problem with fixed price contracts. If you have no kind of confidence in the customer, you have to create this barrier that keeps them from being unscrupulous. It keeps them from taking advantage of you, because some customers will take advantage of you. And the fact is, good agile practices don't really work when your deal with your customer is, I don't trust you, I'm going to keep you at arm's length, you don't trust me, you keep me at arm's length. You do actually have to revert to some wasteful practices in order to deal with that situation. That doesn't mean it's not waste. It just means in this case, it's necessary waste to protect yourself. So why do you need a backlog? You got to think about that. Here's how much work you can do, right? And here's how much work people want you to do, right? Does this look familiar? Yes. Well, most people say yeah. Familiar. So, how do you deal with this situation? We've had a habit of creating a list of all of this stuff, you know, and then putting it through some sort of priority scheme on a regular basis, and taking a look at it, and meanwhile it gets longer and longer and longer until the, you know, half of the stuff or 2/3 of the stuff is never going to get done. That list isn't doing you much good. In a lean environment, you don't push stuff into the system, you pull stuff out of the system. So the concept is pull from capacity. So here's your output capacity. That means, first of all, some stuff will never get done, right? Got to admit, I'm not going to be able to do it all. So that's the first step, and you know, that's really maybe a harder step for some people. Let's be honest with ourselves and with our customers, some stuff is not going to happen. And then you have to limit the input flow to the output capacity. So you have to take and draw a line and say, this is what's going out, so that's how much I'm going to allow it. And the rest of this stuff, guess what? That's wishful thinking. It's not going to happen. And if you pull from capacity, then as you get stuff done, you allow more in. And in between the input flow and the output, you want a buffer. I'll call it buffer, or limited queue. And the purpose of this buffer is to absorb variation in input flow. It's not to keep your customers too far away from you. It's to absorb variation in input flow. So if you have a really steady input flow, you can have a very small buffer. And if you have a kind of variable input flow, you want a little bit bigger buffer to pick up some stuff when times are lean. So here you go. You have a input buffer, and it's limited. So you've got a limited queue here, and you fill it up. Right? Now what's happened? Way too fast. Now something else comes. What do you do? Actually, you throw something away. You either throw away the new thing or you throw away the old thing. And you do it as fast as you possibly can. That's the only way you're going to keep a limited buffer the right size only to manage variation. So you say, sorry, can't do it. Now this is a steady flow of small requests. If you have a large request, you have to break it into smaller requests and keep those, so it's not going to work quite this way. But if you have a steady flow of small requests, something comes in and you can't do it, you have to decide, is it more important or less important than something I've got in my buffer? And if it's more important, I put it in and throw the other one away. And then stuff gets done, and I put in a couple more things, and pretty soon the customers know that from the time stuff gets into your queue until the time they get it, it's going to be 3 sprints, for example, or whatever. And that's all, because that's all the amount of time there is. And again, this is in a small set of steady flow coming at you. So the idea is not to build up a whole great big bunch of stuff that you prioritize. That's work in process. The idea is to understand right away what your output capacity is and not accept any more work than you have the capacity to deliver. So in Lean, pushing more work on an organization than it can deliver is stuff that creates turbulence, and it just slows stuff down. Okay?
Isn't the risk that we will throw out stuff that is more important?
Yeah, you will throw out, but remember, the first thing you had to do is recognize that you're not going to get stuff done beyond your capacity. You could expand your capacity. Customers find that when they shrink the size of the cube and throw stuff out, it almost never comes back at them. So what you do is you play with the buffer size, to make it right. But if you start getting dead stuff on the bottom, it's too big.
Is it really matters if, I don't know, the customer says he wants 50 things,
Yeah.
and my buffer is 5.
Yeah.
To just ignore the other.
Oh no, you don't. You say, boy, those are good ideas. We can do about 5 of them. So if there's these 45 here, maybe you pick 5, or we say, here's these 45. As much as we would absolutely love to do those, to be perfectly honest, we're not going to get to it. And so maybe you would want to find some other way to get them done, because it's just not going to happen unless we get some more capacity.
Okay, so how does this relate to natural boundaries of the project? I've got, I don't know, customer has a feature, and this is must-do feature. It doesn't matter how much it costs, it doesn't matter how much it lasts, it has to be done. In the other case, I've got fixed price, so you have to do it for, I don't know, $50,000. And in the other, you've got, I don't know, 3 months.
Right.
3 months, and I want to do everything you can in 3 months. So how is that natural boundaries of the project relates to output and input capacity?
So if you understand the team's capacity, you do not accept more must-do things than you feel you have the capacity to do. I don't quite get the two cases, but just to quickly go by there, one of the things you have to be very careful about is understand your team's, your development capacity, and be careful not to accept more than you can do. But one of the cases is, if you have a high-level must-do feature, not details, but high level, can you do it in an easy way, a medium way, and a more challenging way? I mean, is there a way to do it in a shorter amount of time, a medium amount of time, and a long amount of time? And if you can do it simply and quickly, and say, I've done it, now I didn't do all these 5 extra little cute things that you wanted, but you've got the high-level business goal that you said you needed, and I've done that in this amount of time, then you could deliver it down. If that's not possible, then you have to figure it out and lay it out in detail in order to know what you're capable of because of the contracting situation. Well, again, you do, but it turns out to be that it would be better if you could expand it into detail closer to when you were going to work on it. But I don't think 3 months is too bad of a time. I think 6, 9, 12 months is maybe too big. Knowing what you can do in 3 months if you're familiar with the domain, that's probably something you should be able to do. So task switching is waste. This is another thing. You ever do that? All the time? And it not only takes your time to go from one task to another, and software is like a very intellectual thing, so it takes a lot of time. It also means that stuff doesn't get done as soon. So if this is 3 different projects, A, B, and C, and they could be done in a month, but I can't decide which one to do first, second, and third, so I break them up into 8 pieces and do them like one at a time. So what I've got here is A, B, C, like that. And I don't get done until like almost the end of month 4. Takes me almost 25% longer. And that's optimistic. It's probably going to take a lot longer than that. But worse than that, in addition to the wasted cost, I could have done this one, A, and been delivering value here, and B, and been delivering value here, and C, and been delivering value here. The way it is, I'm not delivering any value until here. So I've got this wasted value on top. So doing one thing at a time is a pretty classic Lean thing. If you look at the theory of constraints, that's a large amount of what it's all about.